Hello, everyone. This is Noah Villaverde, host of Blank Green Canvas, back again. And this week, I am once again joined by my good friend in New York.
John Maffeo. Also, you might know me as MaffmanJones.
Yes, indeed. That is MaffmanJones right there. And before we get into our discussion on episodes 4 and 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just got to ask, John, how have you been lately?
Been okay. Been working, been relaxing. It's been a couple of nice days. So I've been trying to get some exercise in, walk around, get the fitness on. And it's kicking my ass, but it's been okay. But yes, I'm glad we're finally turning the tide weather-wise here on the East Coast. How have you been?
I have been doing well myself. Funny enough, you just mentioned that. I just got back from the gym. Sometimes you go to the gym and then you accidentally, you have a really big injury. So you have to kind of take a break exercising a certain area. I had that with my chest, but thankfully I got back to doing some push exercises today, but obviously I had to be careful.
Yeah, you don't want to further strain it.
Yeah, thankfully it's been healed since then, and I'm getting slowly back into it. Funny story, my dad actually bought a Breville machine, a Breville espresso machine. So I've just been trying to make some lattes for myself and trying to enjoy it. Failing hard with a latte art, failing really hard. So I'm just making flat whites essentially. I don't know if you can see it on the screen for those watching. As much as I can, it's you can't really see.
It's tough,
yeah, because of the way it works out. But yeah, I've been able to go to the theater again. I went to the theater twice in the last 2 weeks. I went to go see Chaos Walking, which I thought was fine, I guess.
It's a movie that exists.
Yeah, it was more competently made than I thought. It's definitely a movie that feels like it was 6 years too late. It should have come out 6 years ago. And I went to go see Nobody also, which I really liked.
Yeah, it's a really fun one.
Yeah, I'm starting the supporting actor campaign for Christopher Lloyd next year.
Oh, sure.
Right now.
Get the buzz popping.
Yeah, it's a really entertaining movie. It's a really entertaining movie. It's from the same producers of John Wick, and there's been a lot of fun talk saying, oh, they should cross over. And honestly, I'd love to see that. That'd be fun.
I wouldn't even mind just he goes to the Continental and he's there, maybe getting a contract going or something stupid, like a 5-second cameo.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be fun. But yeah, it's been great going back to the movies again, and I'm actually going to go to the movies again later tonight. I'm doing some big Oscar season catch up because this is the most behind I've been in years when it comes to Oscar season, so I'm finally seeing Nomadland. I know I could have seen it already because it's on Hulu, but it's playing in theaters and I feel like, okay, I could finally go watch it in theaters,
You might as well. There's a lot of great cinematography in that movie that needs to be seen on a big screen, which I have not had the pleasure of doing yet. But it's worth seeing in theaters, I think, for the visuals alone.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm gonna catch up with that. I got a Redbox DVD of Promising Young Woman, which I have to see finally. It's been, like I said, I've been way behind on a lot of movies. So I'm catching up on some of the Best Picture films I haven't seen yet, some of the other nominees for the acting categories and whatnot. I'm looking forward to do so before Sunday, obviously. And, before we talk about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the last 2 episodes before the finale, which is crazy to think about, right?
Yeah.
We're already getting close.
Just flying.
Let's talk about something that Marvel dropped this week, as they continue to expand their universe.
Sure.
Just for a little bit. So earlier this week, Simu Liu, who is playing Shang-Chi, and who many people may know as one of the stars from Kim's Convenience, he shared a poster first, as a fun birthday gift to his fans. Hey, and he said, hey, the first trailer is going to be out in a few weeks from now. And then Marvel surprised him and the rest of the world saying, happy birthday, Simu. Here's your special gift. And they dropped the first trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And I don't know about you yet, but I got to say, I'm pretty stoked for this movie.
I'm not stoked, but it does. I'm glad to see a project that I know nothing about. I'm just excited to see where it goes, to be honest.
Nice. Yeah, I thought, for one, it's a fun thing for me, because I like seeing, this story come to life. I have some familiarity with the Shang-Chi comics. He's the master of Kung Fu. And they made some changes here, obviously, because his father in the comics is literally called Fu Manchu, whom Marvel doesn't have the rights to, and also is very problematic and stereotypical.
Yeah,
So they
you could say that.
changed it up. Yeah, they changed it up and updated it to the Mandarin Wen Wu, uh, whom we saw a fake version of in Iron Man 3, played by Ben
Hmm.
Kingsley, and the great Tony Leung is playing him, and he looks great for one. And I really like, for one, I think what stands out to me the most from this trailer is like the fight choreography, like by far, like it really looks like
Getting
they're
some
really
real
upping it.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type of
Oh yeah,
visuals from what the little glimpses
definitely,
that we saw.
definitely. And like as a Filipino American myself, like seeing an Asian story told on this big of a scale from Marvel is really exciting to me. And at the same time, there's a lot of fun jokes out there and how it really feels accurate. Because for one, you see Simu Liu and Aquafina, they're doing drunk karaoke together, and if you look at the screen, they're actually singing a whole new world
Oh, that's
in the
cute.
trailer. And other fun things, like some have joked, wow, they really have nailed it accurately. It's about a young Asian American man, or so, whatever Asian he is, uh, dealing with the high expectations of his father, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that's a universal theme, like living up to your parents' expectations, but especially for, Asians, it's really, it
Right.
really hits home, and I got to give Simu Liu props in regards to, it looks like he'd really trained in kung fu and learning more about martial arts for this one, because unlike a lot of other superheroes that wear masks, obviously, Shang-Chi doesn't wear a mask, and you have to see his face the whole time. So far, he seems to be really killing it martial arts wise, and I don't know, like I'm really looking forward to this one. It was also fun, like I felt like the last part of the trailer was like a nice nod to Speed.
That's exactly what I was
You
thinking the
know,
whole time it was happening too. Yeah.
yeah. Instead, it looks like a lot of fun. I like Destin Cretton as a director. You know, like the films that
Short
he's
term
done.
12.
Short
Big
Term
big
12,
movie.
which seems to have created like it's like an Oscar nominee prediction magnet from that film. It's a
Hmm.
wonderful little film with Brie Larson, Rami Malek, and like Keith Stanfield, among many other great up and coming actors. John Gallagher Jr.,
Hmm.
Caitlin Dever, right? She was in
Yeah.
that.
She
That was one of
was
her
in
first
that.
films. Yeah, she's wonderful in it, and like he's a really really solid director, and I think he brings a lot of humanity to his films,
Hmm.
and I'm hopeful that he does the same thing with Shang-Chi, obviously. But let's move on finally to the last two episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which had a lot, to say the least.
Yeah, and I'll say, like I've mentioned in previous podcasts, that I haven't been like super crazy about what's been going on in the show, but the last two episodes have been ramping up my engagement and my interest in the whole plot. And I'm not like I don't love it, but like at least I'm like, oh my god, now at least I really care what's happening. And there has been some really interesting turns and
Oh, absolutely.
moves, to say the least. Might
Yeah, so let's
some
start
involve
off.
blood, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's start off with The Whole World is Watching, which was episode 4. And when we left off, Bucky is reunited with Ayo, one of the Dora Milaje from Wakanda. And we see a flashback of Bucky in Wakanda as he's still trying to deal with, obviously, like him being the Winter Soldier and dealing with all that trauma. And I got to say,
Hmm.
in that opening scene, Sebastian Stan kills it.
Oh, he's doing some great facial acting.
Yeah, really
It
great.
really
And
sells it.
yes, yes, indeed. And through that, we continue on with this whole journey that Sam and Bucky are going on with Zemo, which is a fun dynamic to say the least. And like Zemo is trying to help out Morgan Thau at the funeral of her adopted mom. And then all of a sudden, John Walker and his buddy Lamar Hoskins are there, and they try to intercept him. And let's just say, as they finally encounter with Sam and Bucky once again, tensions are really boiling between
Hmm.
John and them. Like you feel it.
Yeah, yeah. You could tell there's a lot of clashes of what they believe is right ideologies, and even though it's like, yeah, you have like the Sam and Bucky, and they're like kind of like the anti Sam and Bucky in a sense that they're doing it a
Yeah,
different
to a
way.
certain degree, definitely, especially in the case of John.
Hmm.
And so they butt heads, but obviously Sam decides that he wants to de-escalate the situation with Carly Morgenthau, and wants to talk with her alone about the whole situation, trying to find a way to empathize with her in a way to end the violence that the Flag Smashers are bringing upon.
Hmm. I think I really, I mean, I just like Anthony Mackie as an actor, but I think a lot of like really great like heart to heart moments happen in this episode between him and the actress who plays Carly. I just like
Yeah,
seeing him interact. Like, just, I don't know. It's like he seems like a cool dude to sit down and like have a beer with, but you really
yeah,
feel him trying to connect with this person in these moments. Like he really you feel like he genuinely like cares about this person. Like, listen, I know what
yeah.
you're trying to do, but this isn't the way to go about this. And unfortunately, yeah, can't be resolved that way.
Unfortunately, not, because that's just not how it works out in the MCU from
No.
what it looks like. No matter how good your intentions may be, something always has to come up, whether unintended or not. And, it seemed like the nice moment between the two, even though, like, we know something is about to come up. And,
Hmm.
like, as they continue through, uh, Zemo ends up destroying most of the serum that has been like at the center of the whole conflict, when he is apprehended by John Walker eventually,
Hmm.
and interestingly enough, John Walker ends up stealing one of the last vials of the serum and pockets it,
Hmm.
without anyone knowing yet. And let's just say that after all of that happens, the tension starts building up, and we know something is certainly going to come up in regards to John, which we'll get into. But then suddenly, Ayo and other Dora Milaje from Wakanda come in for Zemo, because obviously, because of Zemo, their former king T'Chaka was murdered, and
Yeah.
they certainly want to bring justice for him.
And to have Zemo walking around on the streets isn't exactly a way to keep the Wakandans happy.
Definitely
Um,
not.
I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't want him
Yeah, of
walking
course
around
not.
either.
Of course not. And once they come in, John Walker is a little too cocky for his own good, thinking that he has a handle on the whole situation, and thinking that he could really um, stop the Dora Milaje from bringing things down and really bringing it on in terms of the action and the tension.
Hmm.
And let's just say he has his ass handed to him, and he has to
Yep,
have a slice of humble pie.
exactly. I was about to say humble pie too. And Sam and Bucky are having a real good time eating popcorn, watching this all go down. Even
Yes,
commenting
indeed.
too.
Yeah, they were commentating through it all. That
Nice
was,
one.
yeah. Yeah, so like unfortunately, as the Dormalaje is fighting them down, Zemo obviously escapes, much to their chagrin, and then Morgenthau ends up she ends up talking to Sarah, Sam's sister, threatening her.
Hmm.
Threatening her and her two sons, and obviously that just makes this whole scenario a lot more personal for
Hmm.
Sam. And oh boy, does this episode get really brutal once things come up. For
Uh,
one,
yes, they do.
unfortunately,
Because
as tensions go higher, um, John Walker's best friend, Lamar Hoskins, well, beforehand, they were talking about like what if they were given the serum, and Lamar said he would definitely take it if given the opportunity. And unbeknownst to him, John Walker himself has a vial in his pocket, and it's looking pretty likely that he took it himself. We didn't see it, if I recall. Like,
oh,
we didn't see him take it.
it's totally implied that he took it.
He
The way
definitely
he's
took
throwing
it.
people around, like it,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the first time he actually basically turns into a super soldier.
Hmm.
And then, unfortunately, as they're battling with the Flag Smashers, a victim comes up, and it's Lamar, his buddy,
Gets
which,
hit against a pillar a little too hard for a regular
unfortunately, Lamar,
human's taste.
yes, indeed. And unfortunately for Lamar, he bites it, and John is pissed.
Yeah, your best friend just got murdered by the person you've been trying to neutralize this entire time. Yeah, this is like Iron Man seeing his parents die kind of situation. Where like I don't
Oh,
give a shit
yeah.
what's logical. You You killed somebody who I like, and like this person's close to me. Bitch gonna die.
So Morgenthau is on the run, and as angry as John gets, he uses his shield in perhaps the most violent event that the MCU has ever had, besides maybe Thor beheading Thanos. This one feels even more real because instead of a demigod cutting off the head of this alien figure, we have two humans involved, albeit one of them has super soldier serum and the other does too, but still, like, it it leads to one of the most, I mean, I'll admit this, John. I had this moment spoiled for me because I saw screenshots everywhere, and even though I didn't have the exact moment on clip shown, the amount of screenshots I've seen of John Walker holding the shield and that expression he has.
It was either that or it was the final frame with the
Oh yeah, the
bloody
final
shit,
frame.
like fully,
And
not even cropped or nothing.
yeah, even though I knew the imagery that was involved, it still didn't like remove the impact of the scene itself for me.
Right. I think if the other guy would have gotten ahead a few more steps earlier, maybe he would have survived.
Mm.
I was
Yeah,
trying to
like-
make a head pun. Sorry for that guy.
Yeah, John straight up kills him. Like,
Yeah,
and not
in
only
front of
does
a
he
lot
kill
of
him,
people.
he kills him brutally. Like, he brutally kills him. All the people around him, they have their phones out filming it as he takes his revenge on one of the Flag Smashers. And this
Poor guy was a Captain America fan too. When I was younger, I used to be a fan of that guy.
Oh,
And now you're being killed by that guy.
That is
Fun irony.
What is I was left, I mean, like I said, I kind of knew what was coming because even though it was out of context, I couldn't help but put the pieces together. And I got to say, like, I know, like, John Walker obviously is an interesting antagonist. I got to give credit to Wyatt Russell. Like, he's really killing it.
Mm-hmm.
He has a certain charisma, but also a deceptive kind of, like, he has a deceptive charm if you didn't really like know like what his ulterior motives were, you know. And then when he comes in and gives in to his worst impulses here, you know, he kills it. And even with those screenshots I've seen where it's kind of looks goofy a little bit, it actually makes it all the more like kind of dark, you know, because it makes it just, especially in the context of the past characters in the MCU, especially in comparison to Steve Rogers. Like, I mean, Steve Rogers definitely, he's a soldier. He had to bring people down. But here, the level of brutality that John Walker brings.
I mean, it's the people have mentioned it before, but it's like what Stanley Tucci said in the original movie. It makes good people better, and it makes bad people worse, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing now.
Yeah,
but
and that final image, the final image of John Walker holding the shield with all the blood on it. What a powerful image to end the episode on.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and you could pull a lot of real historical context to that image too.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is nice to see in a Marvel project, that you can actually do something like that and have it relate to politics. Not to get into anything, but
oh sure, especially in the next episode where right off the bat we see John's on the run because he realized how much he screwed up, you know. And for a little moment, just a little bit, in my case at least, I kind of felt a little bit for him because he let his worst impulses come through. But then obviously that went away when Sam and Bucky had to confront him, and you know, John just couldn't help himself. He feels entitled to the shield because of what he was given to him. He was bestowed upon it by the US government, and it leads to a really great fight between him, Sam, and Bucky.
Yeah, very well done choreography, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering in that. And it's a pretty brutal fight. Wings get torn off. Like Bucky's punching with his human hand because the metal hand's just not getting it done. Like it felt very raw.
When he shattered the wings and everything else, I was just like really like blown away by that moment. And just how, like, John knows he's done. John knows he can't, he's over. Like his career is basically over as Captain America, and his standing with the rest of the world and his own country is going to turn against him. And just how much he's just willing to keep that title, even though he knows it's out of his hands, just goes to show his pettiness.
Very cowardly too.
Very cowardly, you know. And it's like, yeah, it's like, look, I get it. Your best you lost your best friend, and you lost your best friend to like the threat that you're trying to defeat. But man, that level of brutality, it just goes to show how violence begets violence.
Hmm.
And he faces his consequences, thankfully. And it leads to another interesting discussion in regards to how the US government kind of used him just kind of as their own example and as their
Hmm.
own symbol. And how I think it's safe to say John Walker definitely experienced a lot of trauma when he was serving for America, and all
Sure.
that stuff.
Hmm.
And how in some ways it's like they just you could almost kind of see it as a commentary on how the government uses our troops and puts them through the ringer, and how once they lose their use that they want from them, they just kind of discard them or use them
Hmm.
in the ways they want. And when bad things go wrong, like they try to evade all culpability they may have in that,
Hmm.
you know, which leads to another interesting moment where John Walker is with his wife, and then all of a sudden a new character pops up, a surprising cameo from a surprising actress, to say the least.
Yeah, Elaine from Seinfeld took a career change. Very
Oh
weird
yeah,
career
yeah, she
change for
did.
that. She got, yeah. I mean, good for her. I'm glad she found something that she can pursue.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look up her character's name once again because I'll be upfront. I don't really know much about this character in the comics, but I learned more about her researching it.
She
You know,
seems
so
like a Hydra version of Nick Fury,
oh
so to
yeah,
speak.
and so John Walker so through the court he received an other than honorable discharge from the country from the government, and he's stripped of his title as Captain America. And Julie Louise Dreyfus, she plays Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and she gives him a business card telling him that there's ways that he could still be useful. And it looks like it's going to bring up like an interesting kind of Cold War in a way element to the story.
It seems like something that they're pushing for either a second season or it's going to be another Disney Plus show that they throw in the mix.
Yeah. So through this, Sam leaves his wingsuit with his buddy Torres, and then he ends up visiting Bradley, who we saw earlier in a few episodes back, who was the first black super soldier that the world doesn't know of. And we have a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, again, this is where I was continually surprised by how sharp the writing was and how contextually relevant it was to like what's going on right now in our country. And like I could have seen this easily being cringy. I could have seen the show easily like because it's a fine
A
line you
little
have to
too on the nose,
walk.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think like between the acting and I think like, Derek Kolstad, the way he writes these characters, I think it really works. And I feel like this is important to kids who are probably watching this or they're not fully understanding the situation, but they're walking that tightrope just right, I think.
And and the actor's name is Carl Lumbly, who plays Isaiah Bradley. And the way he confesses why he has so much heartbreak and bitterness, he lost his wife. He was never even told about his wife when he was in jail for 30 years. And how the government took advantage of him and didn't give him the chance to actually have a life after all that happened. He
Hmm.
was stripped of his life. And obviously, it pays context into the racial history of America. And I felt like it did it in a way where it wasn't like, oh, we're going to teach you about like racial history in America through this and all that. They found a way to do it in a way that feels natural and feels right for the characters.
Yeah,
Because some shows or some movies try to coast on their the social message that you're trying to do, and even if it's a good message, you need to find a way to do it in a way where it feels natural and right for the characters. And I feel like they really did it well here, especially because of Carl Lumley's performance when he's talking to Sam. You feel the heartbreak in his delivery, and
absolutely.
you
You hear
can't
the
help but
cracks in
feel
his
for him.
voice, and like, and also in context, it also like it relates to Sam Wilson as a character too directly. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
words he's saying to Sam directly like impact
Hmm.
what's happening in his story. So that's why, like you're saying, how it feels natural because it all plays into
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Sam acknowledges like his own experiences as a black man in America, but he also is wondering why Isaiah Bradley has such a deep bitterness and a deep sadness about it, and he gets it. He definitely
Hmm.
gets it, and he uses it as an inspiration to finally take up the shield and hopefully the mantle, And so he goes back to his sister and the boat and everything else, as we saw earlier on in the season, and how they're trying to fix it up. And interestingly enough, meanwhile, Bucky is off and he's trying to confront Zemo once again. And Zemo even offers him the chance to finally take justice into his own hands and take him out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But Bucky is better than that.
Yeah, he's a changed man. He's no longer the Winter Soldier, so he just hands him over to the Dormelage.
Yes, he does.
That's it. That's for now. It's sayonara until another time.
For now, and I wouldn't be surprised if that Wakanda show that Ryan Coogler is supposedly developing brings this part up again.
I mean, if we're in Wakanda and that's where he's going, then chances are he's showing up there at one point or another. Even if it's just like in a jail cell for like a scene.
Oh yeah. And so Bucky ends up asking the Dora Milaje to do a favor for him and for Sam, as it turns out, as he comes to visit Sam and his family as they're fixing up the boat with a gift for Sam.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what that gift is. I almost feel like if you looked up something on Google, you might know.
And just by the implication based on what the gift is probably going to be based on the episode, you probably guessed right. Given that the Wakandans helped Bucky out with his arm, it's safe to say that they would only help out Sam with his wings.
And maybe they gave him a nice, awesome little costume too.
Yes, indeed.
A more patriotic looking costume, maybe.
Yes. So Bucky and Sam, like, they're working together on the boat, and there's some really funny exchanges between Bucky and Sam's sister, and it just kind of
obviously stop flirting with my sister.
Yeah, I love those little moments. Yeah, like it's cute. Those adorable little moments between like both Bucky and Sam in regards to their, like they don't like each other, but it's like they have to deal with each other because they both lost their best friend, and they both have a really interesting talk when they're training with the shield.
Mm-hmm. Another candid conversation that relates it, I feel like, in the context of the show works really well. And it's just nice to see these larger than life characters just like have a nice, like not a nice, but like a conversation that feels like a conversation two people, like a white and a black person would have in a situation like
especially in those positions. Yeah, like in the positions that they have as Avengers, and given the weight that Sam has now having to finally take up the mantle from what it looks like. I am so excited to see how he uses the shield for one, because obviously he's not a super soldier, but he's He's really great with those wings, but he's still learning how to wield that shield the way that would make Steve proud.
Mm-hmm.
And he's slowly but surely getting there. I love that moment with his nephews with the shield, just because obviously his nephews were probably big fans of Steve.
Oh yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. And imagine, like, my uncle is Captain America. Like, it's those little things where it's like that sense of pride that you may have in someone you love taking that mantle from a hero you definitely looked up to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so like the Flag Smashers elsewhere, like they're planning an attack on the GRC conference in New York City, and they are joined by a returning character from the MCU.
Batroc.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I guess they're gonna have another confrontation.
GSP, reunited with GSP, George St. Pierre, and it's gonna be looking like a really exciting battle coming up now that he's involved.
Sure. I can already predict the choreography with like the wings and the shield if he's in the air, like bouncing it off.
Oh man, that's gonna be cool, And then some may have missed it. Like, I know my dad missed it, and I told him, "Oh, there's this scene in the middle of the credits."
I didn't see this either. I had to go back and watch it because I went on Twitter after and I was like, "There's something else."
Yeah, that's the thing with like the Disney Plus shows for Marvel, is that sometimes the credits, they have the whole they skip through. I guess you just have to sit through unless they have that little notification on the corner of the screen.
Yeah,
but it happened, and then we see that John Walker is crafting his own crappy ass shield.
It reminds me of what's his face? I want my boot in Iron Man 2 in the
Oh
opening
yeah.
sequence where he's building his
Oh yeah.
his things, his whips.
I'm curious to see how he's factored into this big battle because it's safe to say that he's definitely going to have to confront Sam again.
I guess, yeah, because
And
but he has nowhere to really go now. He's been discharged, and now he's like
that
a
is
man with
true.
no purpose. But I guess a man with no
That
purpose would an unhinged individual who's just now out for revenge. I guess.
Oh, and we forgot to mention there was that one scene that he had with Lamar's parents, and I think
Right.
that was his
That was a good
sister.
scene. That was a good scene.
That was a good
Yeah.
scene. It's one of those things where it also makes you could tell that he definitely feels horrible, you
Yeah.
know, about mainly
The guilt on his conscience that
the guilt,
yeah
mainly about his
this
best friend dying. He still definitely has a lot of bitterness and anger in regards to what happened to him, which
yeah.
makes him, really problematic, obviously, but also,
But the whole
it
thing
still brings it
with
down to earth.
yeah, but the whole thing with the parents even being like he looked up to you so much, like he would follow you anywhere, like he idolized you as a friend. Like it makes you feel like worse because
Oh
like he
yeah, it
basically
does.
he followed him into his own demise pretty much
Yep.
because he was
Yeah, and
that tight.
he would have been and it's also the implications like he would have been ashamed to see what he tried to do, what he thought, because John obviously thought he was honoring his best friend's memory with his
Yeah,
revenge, but
you
obviously
know
no,
he wouldn't have approved of
so
that. No,
no, definitely not, and that's that episode, and I gotta say, like, I'm with you, like, I've been liking the show so far, but these last two episodes are really, really good, like, really stand out.
they're honing in on what I think is important about a show like this, where it deals with politics in America right now, but it also is a action lethal weapon type romp with these two characters who we know have
Oh
this
yeah,
sort of like love hate camaraderie, so to speak.
and the great thing about these shows, like we said, is that these are characters that were supporting characters to other of the main heroes that were the headliners. Like WandaVision
Hmm.
was Wanda and Vision, obviously, and they never had their own story. They were just kind of supporting characters in the ensemble of the rest of the Avengers, and they found
Hmm.
a way to make. That's what I'm liking about these shows is that even if I might love some movies more than the shows, or even like this more than other things, it's that they're finding a way to make these characters just as interesting as the main protagonists that we followed,
Sure.
if not
Yeah.
more interesting in some cases. Because
Hmm.
we're finally getting to. We didn't really know Sam, before the
Not
show. Like
really.
we only knew that he was what he did, from Winter Soldier and on. We knew that he served for his country, and we knew that he had cool wings, but we didn't
Yeah.
really know his background.
Yeah. He didn't
And we
really
knew
have
a
like a
little bit of Bucky.
personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we knew a little bit about Bucky, but we always wondered what is his life going to be like now that his best friend's out of the picture and he has no family,
Hmm.
and it's definitely cool. Like I'm happy to see that these characters are getting a chance to grow in a way that makes them potentially just as iconic as their friends that we've
Yeah.
seen.
Everything's part of
You
the
know.
Disney machine right now, but it seems like the Marvel is putting these shows to good use, and they're really actually doing some great character work right now. And I
Yeah, that's
agree
the
with
best
everything
thing
you're
I could
saying.
give these shows. They're making these characters even more rich and making them more interesting. And I can't wait to not just see more of them on the small screen, but they're going to be on the big screen too, obviously, again.
Oh, I'm
When
sure.
they
Yeah.
inevitably, whenever, I don't think Avengers 5 won't happen until another 6 or 7 years, probably. I think they're going to really build it up if they do it on the big screen again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because
You know?
Endgame felt like such a conclusive installment. You
Yeah.
need to get people to like really want to get to watch another Avengers. You have to really get people invested again. And I don't know how they plan on doing that exactly, on how they create this threat that's gonna make
Oh,
this next
yeah.
movie possible. But I'm
Especially the
sure
synergy
they have it
between,
going.
yeah, with the synergy between a movie and a TV shows all at the same time. I am so
Hmm.
curious to see how they bring that all together on the big screen because obviously this is the biggest franchise in the world right now. People are excited about it. They want to see more, and they can get away with these kinds of things, and I'm really stoked for what the finale is going to be. Do you have any last predictions before we we wrap up?
I was just gonna make not to deflect from because we're talking about how these supporting characters are becoming main characters, but like I don't know why, but like I wonder if we're gonna see Steve because they keep mentioning Steve's gone, this, that. And I'm like, is he dead? Or like, what happened to him? We never saw him
Yeah,
die. So like, I wonder if we see, I don't know, there's some kind of acknowledgement of his existence just hanging somewhere in a retirement home, or if he's actually dead.
I
Like,
don't think Steve's dead.
he's
I don't
just
think he's dead.
out. Yeah. But like, because
He's
they
just
talk about
living
him like
low.
they talk about him like he's gone, and I'm like, but he's not. So that's just
Yeah,
me. But I wonder if we see what's his face, Chris Evans again.
yeah,
I
Chris
don't think we
Evans.
are, but
Yeah,
I
like
think
I'm with you. I don't think we're gonna see him, but I think he'll be alluded to. Maybe like
yeah.
they have a message, they received an email from him or something. And also, I think this is unlike WandaVision, which is just going to be a mini series. I think this will have like another season
I could see
at
another
least.
season happening too. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think it's. I think it's gonna be pretty conclusive though. I feel like this is gonna. It's just gonna resolve the tension with John Walker. I think the Flag Smash situation is probably gonna get. They're gonna find a way to like maybe not amend, but at least get Carly on like a similar page
Oh
as
yeah.
Sam and Bucky, and maybe we get like a stinger with Elaine from with Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Yeah.
That's gonna be our stinger, and that's probably what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't
Setting
know.
up that like I wouldn't be surprised if John Walker is the first piece of like they're trying to assemble basically a new team that would go against the Avengers.
You
Yeah,
probably
that'd be
have
really
hit.
interesting.
It'd be like him, Batrock. I'm trying to think of like who. I can't think of anybody right now, but yeah, alluding to
Maybe
a
they'll set
team.
it up in other shows. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Hmm.
But so that was the last two episodes of Falcon Winter Soldier before the finale, which is insane to think about. It's already this close to concluding for the first season. But we're enjoying it overall, and we were really impressed with these last two episodes, especially in regards to the themes it explores, the use of John Walker, and how he's definitely one of the most interesting characters we've seen in a long time in this franchise. So anyways, John,
Sure.
thanks again for joining me on this discussion.
Oh, no problem. Again, thank you for inviting me on. It's always fun, and I just think it's blown my mind how time's flying. We were talking about WandaVision, like it felt like
Yeah,
yesterday. Then it was January. Now we're in April. Well,
yeah.
the concept of time lately has been screwing me because there's so much Marvel content. But
Oh yeah,
always fun talking with you about this stuff, and I'm looking forward to talking
of
about the
course.
finale
I
inevitably coming
can't.
up.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that finale. And also, where can people find you?
So anybody could find me on any social media platform and on YouTube at MaffmanJones. And I'm gonna do a video about because I've been itching to talk about the whole Spider-Man situation because
Oh yeah,
they won't
just real
spill the
quick.
beans. So I want
Real
to talk
quick, I
about the
wanted to hear your
possibilities.
thoughts. I wanted to hear your thoughts on, let's just say, Alfred Molina maybe revealed a little too much about his role.
Yeah, the Marvel snipers definitely have him in jail right now because
Oh
he just
yeah,
literally just comes out and says like, yeah, I'm out there and I'm fighting. I make mean faces in the movie. Like, yeah, okay,
I
so
think the biggest part is the fact that he mentioned de aging, and I'm like, oh,
that and also
okay,
it picks up where it left off from Spider-Man 2.
quite literally. That movie could end up either being a hot mess or the
Oh
greatest
my
like
god,
fan service ever made. But
I don't know
I
what to
feel like
think
it's gonna
yet.
be, yeah, it's like it could obviously be a messy movie given like what it may end up being, but at the same time, I'm not gonna. I'd be lying to say if I wouldn't be freaking out with the
No,
fan
I mean
service.
I'm at this point. I'm feeling like if it's gonna be a hot mess, I'm just gonna enjoy seeing characters I grew up with being on screen
Yeah,
again and fighting
that
each
and
other. Like
also,
that's
I think at this point, if they don't reveal them in the, do you think they're gonna appear in the first trailer if their roles are a
yes,
little?
yes.
At this point,
Because
come on.
how do you sell if the movie's about them? How do you sell it and not show them? Unless you like say you put like a voiceover or some kind of dialogue. You hear Andrew and you hear Toby and you hear Alfred Molina or any of these kind of and you don't see them. I don't know. Maybe
Do you
they'll do
think that's like
that.
gonna be the big like trailer stinger, if you will,
I
like the
think
final like
it's gonna be like in Civil War where like the ending thing was with him
yeah.
catching the shield. Like, hey everyone. I think it's gonna be like yeah, we're gonna see them in like the last shot of the movie of the trailer. Because that's
And
what's gonna get
it's
people
like
to go like, oh
it's gonna
that's how
be
you
like
get people to
It's
flip.
gonna yeah, it'll be like Tom going like what, and then we
Yeah.
just have a quick moment of like Toby and Andrew
Yeah.
just kind of like out of context, just like
Like,
what's
where
going
are
on.
we? Yeah, like some shit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it could be a hot mess of a movie, but I'd be lying if I'd be screaming in that theater. And
This movie's gonna make $3 billion if it is what we
yes,
think it is.
And I want to be in
Oh
a,
my
like, for a
god.
lot of these movies, I want to be in a packed crowd, sold out, all that kind of
Ooh.
thing. That's the kind of thing,
This
but
is this is gonna be like Endgame again, where it's gonna be you're gonna have people who grew up with these characters like me and you, and it's gonna be
oh yeah,
insane.
I'm going to cry the moment, because let's be real, they're in it. They're in it. Like, stop screwing with us. We know
It's
they're
too
in it.
obvious.
And
It's yeah.
I'm going to cry
Sony, if
once
you
Toby's on
watch,
screen.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. Even if he's
Yeah.
phoning it in, I'm just gonna be happy to I'll just be happy to
Yeah.
see him again.
Well, once again, thanks, John, for joining. And so people can find you obviously through MaffmanJones movie reviews on YouTube. Also, you can find you on your social media throughout. And they could find me on this channel, Blank Green Canvas, also through the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, among many other platforms. And on Facebook, you can find me on Blank Green Canvas there as well. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. And we'll be back again with you to discuss the finale of the first season.
This has been a lot of fun. Can't wait to talk about that.
Yes, indeed. Falcon and Winter Soldier season finale coming right up very, very soon. So thanks
Oh
for
yeah.
listening, and we'll be back with you again very soon. Take care.
Bye everybody.